Okay, next, columns. We're going to use Y-planes columns. They're going to be 1049, which is a default that appears. How do we put columns? Simple. Structure, column. Make sure it's vertical column. Okay, make sure that the column is actually the Y-planes and 1049. Okay, there is. And what we're going to do is place it at grids as well. So we're going to say at grids. And I'm going to do first the gym building. So I'm going to select all of this. Be careful not to select the grids from the entry building. So you want to place it here, pressing Control, and you say okay. Before saying okay, where? Well, that's a step I think I missed. We need first a new level that I haven't created. So actually I'm going to go here and cancel that and escape, and I'm going to go to my elevations because I like to do new levels there from the elevations, and I'm going to create a new level precisely between level 2 and 3 at 23 feet called bottom of truss. Okay, I'm going to copy this one. Doesn't even matter if you do it by eye because you can select it here and say 23. I was lucky, I guess, with the number. I don't know. And capital letters, bottom of truss. Actually, it's going to be like gym truss. You can put it like that or change it later on. Doesn't really matter that much. Okay, because I copied the level is not appearing here, which in this case for me it's actually good because I don't want that level to be represented. At least right now I don't. So I have it here. It's black because it doesn't show in my views. But you know, sometimes it's useful to do that. So again, let's go back to create those columns. I'm going to say first floor composite, and I'm going to say column under structure. Make sure it's at grids. Make sure it's 1049, and you start selecting the grids of the gym in this case. Okay. Now from where to where, and I'm going to cancel that again and say before that, what is the top connection and the bottom connection? Or you can say here the height from the first floor composite, that's where we are, to where? To the bottom of gym truss. Okay, so it's going to be quite a bit higher of a column. At grids, pressing Control to add the level, and say OK, escape, 3D, and obviously I missed this grid, so let me go back again and do it. Column, at grids, finish, 3D, there we go. As you can see in the 3D, we don't want the middle ones because we want the big space there for the gym to happen. It's going to be on top of this slab, so you know you can right now just delete these ones by pressing Control and deselecting them. We're also going to delete this one. Done. Trusses. Trusses are normally nice to be located whether in plan or in 3D. We'll see how we can do that. First thing, we need to go to structure and truss, select truss, and it's going to tell us no structural trusses family is loaded in the project. Would you like to load one now? I'm going to say yes. So let's do it. Let's come here. Let's say truss. If you have a truss loaded already, it will tell you just go ahead and put whichever one you want. But I don't have one, so I'm going to say yes. Give me a truss. You normally go to structural trusses here, and we're going to use the Pratt flat truss. Okay, say open, and again we could snap to that top of the column, and remember that it's not the same to snap there. Then up here there's a circle. That's the one we want to search, not that one, but this one, and it's a slight movement towards the top. And I'm press once. It's a heavy amount of geometry, a truss, because it has a lot of information. And then again, you wait for that same circle snapping, not the square. Say OK. So I don't need to ask anybody, but I'm sure nobody likes this truss. It looks like weird. Well, this truss has been made by concrete because the last beams created in the project were made in concrete. Awkward stuff. Well, don't worry. If I select the truss, and there's different ways of selecting the truss, but you want to have those dashed lines entirely defining all the elements of the truss. You select it, and you can edit the type, and let's see if we understand a little bit of how the trusses work in Revit. Okay, it's probably good to duplicate and call it a gym truss, for example. Say OK. And it tells you that the top chords, let me zoom in here, which is the magenta, has this type of frame, and by default selects the concrete frame. The vertical webs are the black ones. You guys know about that. And it's also selecting a concrete beam. It's kind of weird. The diagonal webs are the green ones, also concrete, not interesting. And the bottom chords are here, the purple or blue. Okay, so you can go one by one and changing the structural framing type and selecting the white flange 1226, for example. Okay, and the bottom chord. If I say OK, there we have it. What if, for example, the diagonal webs are thinner or smaller in dimension? How can we get inside other W white flames? So you could do, for example, beam load family, go down to the structural framing, still scroll down to white plane, select, double click, and here you have all the infinite white planes dimensioning that you have. Okay, so you can just go down and select several of them, like 1022, 840 for now, and say OK. Override existent, and select again the truss, edit the type of the gym truss, and go to your vertical webs, for example, and make them white flames 840 and apply any changes here. See that? And diagonal webs, we're going to use 1022. Thinner and nice. Regardless, you can arrange your own truss. You just have to think that each element of the truss is pretty much a beam type inserted into a truss system. So that would be a very easy way to find it out. Okay, we're going to copy this, so probably it's better to go to the, let's see, the second floor composite. No, until we see actually that new floor. It's probably third floor. And here's something interesting about beams and trusses or any other highly detailed element, structural element. If you are under coarse view, you see a thick line. It's a simplification of the beam itself. If you want to see it entirely, and of course it will take much more memory, but you should always represent your sheets with the detailed version, you go to fine, and that's where you get all the nice kind of a detailing. So now you can select the truss from the top view, copy multiple, and just going all the way, snapping to the grids. Now here, be careful, don't put another one there, that corresponds to the other building. So this is what we have. We're leaving that one because the facade, it kind of makes sense, but we're eliminating this one, okay? Next, we're going to place the same columns for the atrium and the same trusses for now, then we'll change them as we go, okay? So we're going to go to the first floor composite, we do want to do column structural. We're going to say at grids. We're going to go before that. I'm going to say from where to where. So the height, bottom, from the first floor to the bottom of gym truss. And yes, we're going to say grid. Just be careful that you select the proper grids. There we go. There we go. Finish. Let's go to the 3D. Now there's a lot of them, so let's make sure that we actually only have one every other one. So in this direction, so we have more space inside. So every other one in the center is eliminating these guys, and these guys. Delete. These ones we leave them, but the center one we delete. So this one out. Okay. Another way of doing interesting, like to make it faster in Revit is to select any ingredient, such as a truss, and right-click and say create similar. And you can start, to snap into that top point to the circle again, and going all the way to the end until you snap to the circle. That way you're sure that you create the same type of truss. Now we're going to go to the third floor where we see nicely the trusses. Select copy, make sure you're multiple, and go between. Oops, that doesn't make sense. And it's going to tell you, well, you don't want one there, so it's kind of a weird thing. Control C that, select the truss again, copy. Double E does not correspond to the entry building. Okay. Good. Next, the columns in this area. I'm going to go again to the first floor, close everything, create columns. In this case, we want to do a grid, but we don't want to go height to bottom of gym truss, but we want to go to second floor composite. We make sure this 1049 at grids, and we're going to select all of these guys and say finish. Escape 3D. Let's see what kind of a mess we have created. Obviously you cannot fly, so we delete those guys, and that's good. So we're going to go to the second floor now, composite, and we need to place beams here. Okay, the way to do these beams, we're going to just do them for now like a default, and we'll see the calculation that we have to do in the next and final step. Okay, so you say beams, make sure you're in the second floor, you're good to go. You do on grids, select those grids, and even select this one, say OK, finish. Now 3D snap. Obviously we don't want these ones, that's just an inconvenience of using this grid technique. But you can go to the 3D and eliminate many of these guys in a very easy way. Delete these guys. We don't want this one, this one, this one, neither that one. And I made them concrete, obviously, so that's a mistake. I don't know why I say that, sorry. So this beam should be white planes, obviously. We'll see the dimension that they have. Okay. Okay. I'm going to stop it there.